And a big aloha. This is Cindy Paula's Talk Story, the longest running talk show on Maui. Speaking of petting animals, we'll have in the second half of the show Nancy Willis from the Humane Society talking to us about the amazing story of surviving the fire and then getting the donation. So nice from Oprah Winfrey. And everyone who has a nonprofit going, oh, I wish it was me. I wish it was me. But no, but everyone's also very, very happy that there was a very happy ending to that story. It's so nice to have Robert Pollack, the director of Ebb and Flow Arts, celebrating his 20th anniversary with Ebb and Flow. 20 wonderful years of really embracing music like it's never been embraced here before, with free, world-class acts, cutting-edge music that's just beautiful. And we're so thrilled that he's going to be having a special 20th anniversary celebration this coming Sunday at 4 o'clock at the beautiful Makawao Church, Makawao Union Church at 4 o'clock. There will also be maybe a little celebration, maybe even happy anniversary sung. You know, is there any plans for that? You say happy anniversary?
Well, we'll have some surprises.
We're going to have some surprises?
Surprises, and it's a special day because it's literally almost to the day 20 years since our first concert, which also occurred at the Makawao Union Church.
And isn't it amazing when you think of over the years? I mean, you can't help but be reflective in these situations, right?
Yeah. It's all been a kind of miracle from the very first day, particularly when we have guests from the mainland come over, and just the fact they're here and then can perform in the way they do. It's been pretty miraculous.
And think of all the friendships you've formed and people you've known and people you've introduced that have never been to Maui. Adam Tendler, who's going to be the featured artist this Sunday, has now been here 5 times because of your invitations.
Yes, this will be the 5th time. And it started when he did a rather well-known now, and a book about it has been written by him, tour called 88 by 50, America 88 by 50. So, as the name suggests, he went to all 50 states.
Wow. And
performed a solo piano recital that comprised modern American piano music, entirely from memory. This has been his trademark, that he memorizes all of these very intricate modern pieces that classical musicians complain could never be memorized. But he is so dedicated, he can spend years on a piece before he brings it to public.
He sounds like he has a real passion for it.
Absolutely passionate and devoted, and just a gifted
pianist. He's in his
pianist.
30s. He's a young man.
He's a young man.
And in this particular case, we're lucky because you were just able to reach him. He is in New York.
He is in New York.
But he'll be calling in soon, and we're going to get a chance to talk to him. He hasn't flown out yet, but he will be. In fact, you're going to be doing another interview with him on Thursday at noon here on this station as well.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I think by doing this as well, we learn so much more about modern music. It's so interesting because I love music. I just really have an amazing love of music. But without your input, I really wouldn't have followed and known about a lot of artists and pieces in modern music. But it's only because you, as a pianist, because you've written many modern pieces as well. I mean, how many modern pieces have you written for piano?
For piano?
Well, you've written for some that you perform, but you have others as well, right?
Yeah, also orchestra pieces and chamber pieces, songs, and so it's about 145 pieces. To date, yeah.
Robert, I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
I would have guessed around 50 or 60. I did not know it was 145.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you have time with everything else you're doing, getting grants and everything.
I have to make time, and part of my work is to create pieces as well. It's part
do you
of
do
my
that in the
art.
mornings before it gets busy? You have set time that you make an appointment to actually sit down and have time to do that?
Usually, there's, for example, a very recent project just completed a few days ago was all day, all day. Now then there's sometimes when there's nothing. Other chores need to be tended to, but for particularly when there's a deadline, on a commissioned work or something like that, then one can spend all, just pretty much spend the all day and night if necessary.
Well, isn't that nice, though, that you can get commissioned works?
Yeah. Commissions are always welcome.
Yeah.
My phone number is 1-800-COMMISSION.
Because a lot of people never get to that. I mean, it's a whole different world when you get to modern music, and you've really just dove right into that world, and you know all about it. Mm-hmm. And I think over the 20 years, I mean, so many people around the world now know about you in Maui and about what you're doing here, right?
Well, that's part of the work, has been to create a kind of hub in the Pacific, for the Pacific Rim, for modern music. As there are so many small new music nations or pockets of new music intense new music activity around the world, there's a kind of new music nation made up of these various pockets. And one of them
Did you come up with that term? I like that term, New Music Nation.
New Music Nation.
That's brilliant, that term.
Maybe it's been used, but it's part of the work we do. And it's also all of the islands. This past season we've been to Kauai and Oahu and Big Island. Most of the events here on Maui, but we are statewide, and we intend to keep doing that. We have good support, for example, the Hawaii Tourism Authority, Community Enrichment Program, the Hawaii State Foundation on Culture and Arts, the Edward T. Cohn Foundation, AHS Foundation, just recently the Kasasa Foundation, ABC Stores gave us a grant. So
And you know how to write those grants, and that's not an easy thing to do, and that's part of the gift that you brought to you being here, is knowing how. So many people have a great idea, but they can't fund them.
Well, it's partly to do with my experience back east. Before establishing Ebb and Flow Arts, there was the Composers Guild of New Jersey, and before that, the New York Guild of Composers. And so along the way, we all learned what it took to secure grants, and sometimes it's a very elaborate grant for not that much money. Sometimes it's a letter that yields a lot of funds, but it all depends, and one learns the ropes, so to speak, of that process. So we've been able to secure, luckily.
Oops, I'm sorry. I thought I saw a flash of him calling in, but I didn't call in yet.
Okay.
And you know something, is it get easier? Do you find it easier? Because now at this point, some of these people know you. You've already submitted information about what you're doing, and you're very good about record keeping, which is very hard for a lot of musicians. A lot of musicians are not good at that part of it. But you being a ma and pa situation, you really have to. I mean, people may not realize this, but you're down here placing ad buys. You're running around putting posters up. You're creating the posters, designing the posters yourself, and getting them up. And and they don't see all that goes into it. You're booking the halls, arranging all of that stuff. Yeah. You're a one-man show. You and your wife, Closine, really are doing this whole thing yourself, right?
We have a supportive board, proactive, and we subcontract, people like Peter Swansea, who's a wonderful artist, visual composer, and as our technical producer. So he's responsible for a good deal of the work, producing the designs of the posters, creating our Music of the Spheres programs, the films we just had in Pro Arts Playhouse, and so on. So there are a lot of people that work for us, and dozens and dozens of musicians, of course, that we've subcontracted. And we always pay our people. So just because it's a free admission event, this is Sunday, July 21 at 4 p.m. at the Makawao Union Church. Are you going to have an earlier gathering for the questions and answers? You won't this time. I was wondering about that. Adam will speak about the pieces. Oh, good. As he goes. So, we've been able to manage a situation which, just recently thinking about it, every island has their own philosophy about music. Have you found that? That's why I've almost thought each island should be its own state.
I mean, there's times, especially when the hotel tax thing went.
Yeah.
But we all, yes, are very, very different. So different.
And
and not just music. I mean, art as well.
And art.
And entertainment in general. There's different feelings about that.
For example, my experience in Kauai is people say, we have an idea of how music should go. It should have harmony. It should have melody.
It should have.
And
aloha. Is this Adam?
Hi.
Hi, Adam. I'm Cindy. And
hi, Adam.
That's Robert.
Hey, Robert.
Hey, great.
How are you doing?
Good, thank you.
We called you last minute here, and I know it's already nighttime in New York.
Oh, yeah, but since it's summer, it's still bright out.
Oh, good.
It's all good.
We were just talking about your passion for music, and I asked Robert, since he mentioned that you memorized so many pieces, I said, well, does he have a photographic memory? So I guess I'm really curious, because you memorize pieces that are really long, hard pieces.
Yes, well, it's funny, because they're kind of triggering unintentionally a bit of shame, because I'm not really memorizing anything from this program that I'm going to play this week.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
I've been thinking about this lately, how that used to be such a thing for me.
Yes.
Was that I was always memorizing stuff. And I still do.
Mm-hmm.
But lately,
lately
sometimes I've been sort of letting it kind of, I don't know, letting go of. So I get a little more selective with what I memorize, and honestly, I really have been thinking about that, because I thought about how I came out there the first time. It was
we
a
talked
totally
about
memorized
that.
program.
It was, and then sonatas and interludes.
Sonatas and interludes,
and then fantasy, Copeland fantasy.
Yeah, the Copeland fantasy. But those are sort of my. It's. I would still try to do that today,
Mm-hmm.
with a piece that I really feel special about.
Yeah.
And there's certain ones that I still would like to memorize, and there's some that have always just been really difficult to try to memorize. But yeah, sometimes I feel like it's just right. Like it feels like the right thing to try to do, almost to get closer to the piece. So with Sonatas and Interludes by John Cage, that was a big thing. And honestly, with a lot of Cage, if I feel like there's a possibility of it lending itself to that, I will do that. I memorized a Morton Feldman piece because I just wanted to see if it was possible. It's a very long piece. And even that was sometimes it's sort of an experiment. And anyway,
well, it's all.
I don't think I have a photographic memory. It becomes very pattern based. Like I sort of will try to find any semblance of a pattern. And with, like, for instance, the Morton Feldman piece that I memorized, sort of more recent than the Cage, at least, I actually kind of rewrote the whole thing in sort of a kind of symbology that would only make sense to me. And I was able to do it that way. And so when I think of that piece, I actually think of that symbology, which I don't know if that's good or bad. But
I love that.
Probably
I think it's
part
brilliant.
of memorization,
Yeah. So
in general,
how did, we were just talking before we got on there, I was talking to Robert, I said, well, how did he get this huge recognition, this award? I mean,
the Lincoln Center.
The Lincoln Center Award is a wonderful, wonderful thing to win.
It was a huge surprise. And when I kind of still think of, I think of myself really as a working musician, in that I play concerts and I travel for that, and it's a really wonderful thing. But working also in that, like, I'm teaching a lot as well. And so my first memory of that, and again, if we're exploring themes of shame, which we're not, but I guess I am. There is sort of like, it's a funny thing, because performers, and maybe it's a New York thing or I don't know, but performers and people who are trying to, like, carve out a place as performers in the music community, whatever, they don't like to talk about the fact that they teach, or if they teach. It's a weird thing. It's sort of, and so I teach, and I teach a kind of a lot. I taught today, so, and I'm actually, when I come back from Hawaii, I'm teaching that day, the morning I arrive on a red eye, and I teach later that afternoon. Just, I don't know, it just sort of is a thing. But I bring it up because I was teaching when I found out. Like, I was between students, and I was reading the email, and I know of different performers who have received the same award, like Jack Quartet and Conrad Tao, and these are friends and people whose careers I really admire. And so I was like, I thought that it wasn't that award. I thought it was something else like that award, but not that award. So I was really totally delighted, and it was actually a real surprise. But it's funny because Lincoln Center, there's different parts of it. There's the theater, there's the library, there's just different parts of it, and each part sort of nominates their person. And I'm actually really proud of this, but I was nominated by the library, actually, where I've performed there quite a bit, and mostly Cage, actually. But they know that I go there a lot as I use it as a resource. And actually for Henry Cowell, when I played Henry Cowell's music, there's just so much there. And it's just this resource that is sort of sitting here. And if one lives in the city, it's really easy to get really close to some of this music and actually get really practical questions answered. And so that was also kind of funny because they know, again, speaking of being a working musician, they know that I just go there when I need information. And so I was really delighted to get that, but also to get it from them was really cool.
Yeah, so it's the 2019 award from Lincoln Center for Emerging Artists.
Yeah, for emerging artists, as they call it, which is also really funny too, because my first concert was 20 years ago. My first actual concert that people came to and got a ticket for was 20 years ago. So I also thought that was kind of nice and ironic, just to show that, being on anyone's radar is really such a subjective thing,
Right.
What, were you 15 years old when you started doing concerts?
I was 16. I was around 16, 17. It was maybe 19 years ago or something. It was around 2000. Sorry, it was 1998, 99. I was preparing my audition program, and so I made a concert around it. And so, but yeah, I just think of that as sort of even the 50-state tour, which is how I first came to Maui. That was a totally independent project 14 years ago in 2005, between 2005 and 2006. And even that, I was completely an anonymous person. And I think the most important lesson of that experience and that tour was that I actually came out of that experience and remained anonymous. It wasn't like that it delivered some career. It really kind of didn't. And one of the few things that it delivered in terms of a relationship and a really beautiful artistic and personal friendship and relationship was with Ebb and Flow in Hawaii. It's one of the few things that actually remained
from that tour.
The tour, everything else kind of floated away. And when people, when people are sort of surprised when I say I'm going to Maui for a concert, it's actually really nice that I can tell the story of how it started and how
you wrote a book about it. I think
and I wrote a book about it.
Wasn't that great?
And I've been out. This will be my 5th visit, which is really something.
Yeah,
it's really great.
Well,
and it's so funny because Robert Pollack is such a master.
Yep.
Such an icon that I'm treating this visit as if it's my first time. I'm completely beside myself on this program.
I love that.
It's funny because I'm thinking this is my 5th time. You think I should be a little more relaxed about this by now.
Well, there's a big trip ahead of you.
I know, but nothing gets by him, and so I really always want this stuff. And also to the testament of Ebb and Flow, it's just I mean, out of the programs I've played this year, it's really a doozy. Like, in terms of,
I love that.
I don't even know if it's time-wise a doozy, but it's
very
a
uncompromised.
real, like, concentrated experience. And in terms of, for audiences, I think the music's really enchanting and really emotionally intense, and it's a very physical program and this, that, but it's also, it's a real deal, like, it's a 10 in terms of what it demands of everybody, you know. And I think I'm really proud of that. I think, you know, because I play here in New York and in Brooklyn and here, there, and everywhere, and the truth is, probably this year the most demanding and most amped program in terms of what it asks of everybody is this Maui concert.
Well, I call Robert the professor. I do, because you know, I've interviewed him, Adam, for years, you know, since he's been 20 years. We've been doing interviews that long, but I always learn something new, and I think he has that same thing. He expects his audiences to be educated, and he's always teaching them a little bit. It's partly, you know, the audience is always learning as well. And you know, Maui is interesting. We weren't necessarily what you would consider the prime field for modern music here on Maui before Robert came, right?
Right.
But well,
that's what's so great, is that it's such like it's a great scene, actually. I mean, what's been created out there, and it's, I guess the word that's occurring to me is that it's very uncompromising programming. It's really just saying this is what it is and this is what we're presenting. And I find that in a lot of just my experience, there's people saying they're making uncompromising programs or they're playing uncompromising, but they're not really. Yeah. And this actually just is. And, you know, it makes everyone sweat, and it's great. And I don't know. And a lot of this music is, and a thing I'm proud of is, this is music as Robert the Professor, you know, he's introduced it to me. There's pieces of this program I would have never really known about.
Interesting.
Or would have had, really, it would never have been on my radar if he hadn't really introduced.
Well, that's what makes it a great partnership over the years, Adam, that we've been able to share our experiences and then come up with programs and present it to an audience in a way to say, you know, you don't need a PhD in mathematics to understand this program. It's going to be really, it's just get into the sounds and, you know, the masterful performance, and you'll have something to really enjoy. And it's a special treat because, as we mentioned earlier, these are all Hawaii premieres. No one.
Oh, wow!
Yeah, as far as we can tell, they're all Hawaii premieres, and you know, to hear that live. Cool. Maybe people have heard some of this over the internet or something on CD, but to hear these pieces live for the first time, it's just such a wonderful thrill.
Yeah.
Really, that
really
we always
honored.
share.
And I think seeing it, like seeing what the music demands. I think back to when Robert and I played music by one of the composers on the program, Arthur Berger, and it was so activated. Like, even when we would practice, it was a piece for two pianos, and this is a composer I really wouldn't have known about without Robert introducing him to me. And the piece I'll play of his on Sunday's program, I wouldn't have known unless Robert told me it existed. And it's called 3 one-part inventions, which, like, the title alone, I was like, I have to play this piece. It's the best title. And it's been actually years of, like, gnawing away at this piece. And it's actually, I guess my point is, this composer in particular, it's a very intellectual music. And but when we played it, the last time I visited out there, it was, and it's he's a hardcore composer, like, again, very uncompromising. And people were just, I feel like they were blown away. There was just like, in a very visceral, exciting way. It was such an exciting, physical, exhilarating experience to play it, but to hear it. And I just think that being in the room and watching a performer have to create these sounds, having to do it physically, is just so much. I mean, I think it's just so much more fulfilling, and rewarding than hearing it on a CD. Like I'm doing a piece by Luciano Berio, Sequenza it's called. And if you were to hear it, if you were to listen to it, it sounds really like complex music. There's a million notes. The rhythms are completely bonkers. But to watch it and actually see what's happening, to be in the room and hear all the little nuances, I feel like it's such a different experience. And then the piece becomes funny, and it becomes exciting, and it becomes violent, and it becomes all these things that are really tough and maybe impossible to capture if you're just, listening to it. I think it's just only a part of it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
Anyway.
No, and that's what our audience can expect from a very exciting performer, Adam Tendler. That's Sunday, July 21, 4 p.m. at the Makawao Union Church. It's a free admission event, and you can call 876-1854 or check www.ebbandflowarts.org for more information.
I just have to say, Adam, it's been hot.
Okay. Oh, really good.
No,
I don't know if I should pack a sweatshirt. Are you thinking?
No. Don't. I don't think unless you're planning to go to the top of Haleakala. No, you don't need a sweatshirt.
Okay.
It's been 90, 91, 92, 93, and there's no air conditioning at the Makawao Union Church. So just.
Okay. I will. I'm gonna wear my custom costume, which is a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Black T-shirt.
But usually
so touched by this.
it's by 4. It's
cools down.
Certainly tolerable.
Because the sun goes over the hill.
Yeah, and it's been
so
kind of windy. And
that's nice.
Weather reports have shown predicted lower temperatures.
Oh,
not
good.
Not quite as
Not quite as 90s.
High 70s or something like that.
Oh, good.
So it should be
plan
fun
tomorrow, and it's so funny to think of this because I'm looking from my rooftop towards. I live in Brooklyn now, so I'm looking at the Manhattan skyline and watching the sunset. My plan tomorrow, again, because people, when I tell them I'm coming to Maui, they think I'm going on vacation, and I'm like, you realize I'm going to be practicing the whole time.
Yeah.
But
how do you do that? How do you practice the whole time when you just have a keyboard that you do that isn't?
I'll be staying with where a piano is.
Oh, perfect.
Very generously.
With you.
So I will have a piano to practice on. But I bring that up because tomorrow it's just amazing. My plan is after landing, I think I'm gonna try to go to the beach and watch the sunset just because I'm gonna check that box.
Well, I just have to say what you said is so funny because I've been on the island 30 years. And people still think I'm just on vacation here, even though I've been working here for 30 years.
Works very
There's
hard.
absolutely no way to dissuade that image for people.
Yeah.
And believe me, practicing, it's even just being there to practice is such a delight, and especially practicing with Robert. We're going to be recording a piece, and so I'm just completely so excited. So
I was shocked.
And kind of overwhelmed with the idea that I'll be there tomorrow.
Well, it's going to be. You picked the timing right rather than last week. But I have to say, I don't know if you know this because I just asked Robert at the beginning of the show how many pieces he's written. Can you guess how many pieces that Robert has written?
You mean?
No, I can't.
About 145 or so.
145.
Oh my stars!
Yes, that's a lot.
Yes.
So,
including
Robert, do you give them opus numbers, or do you do you go by date?
Yeah, by date, including
great.
just finished a day ago was a piece for 2 pianos. So
you'll
have something to bring back with you in your luggage.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I would love that.
Yeah. No. But there is something that I have to say, and I think you'll agree with this, Robert.
Yeah.
I mean, I've lived in different places, but there's something inspirational about Maui. I mean,
Yes.
I write every day, but I don't write. I'm also a lyricist and composer, but mainly I write poetry. But I write every single day, and there is something in the air here, the light here, that is very inspiring. And you've written, you wrote before you moved here, right,
Yeah.
Robert? But don't you find
it took off here? Yes.
Yeah.
Craterativity, they say.
Just the sky feels closer. Like everything is. It's just everything is so enhanced.
Yeah.
I find when
That's
I'm
true.
But the other aspect, we were just talking about the different islands have their own take on music. We were just in Kauai recently, and they're very staid. We have an idea. There should be harmony. There should be melody. After they've heard,
Wow.
and then Oahu is more standard rep rather than venture anywhere. But Maui has become really the place for avant-garde.
But I know, wait a second. No, it's because of you, Robert. I remember when you began. Yeah. You have actually trained them to understand this. It takes learning. And that's why I call you the professor as well. People didn't know quite what to think about it in the beginning.
Right. Well, they still don't. Some still don't. But
part of what he might have shown, and what people, when they come to these concerts, is just like you said, it's really about having just an open mind and not and kind of letting go of the idea of needing to understand it. I mean,
exactly.
That's the funny. I think even one of the misconceptions is that even as a performer, that I understand it all. Like, I actually surrender to the music constantly of thinking, okay, I'm just going to keep living in this thing and things will occur to me, or I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a revelation. I didn't even see that before. And
that's so great.
I'm constantly getting stuff figured out. And
that's one of the best parts about music and writing and creativity.
Oh, yeah. And you get close to composers in a way that's really special, because they're kind of presenting this kind of mysterious object, and it's just a privilege to kind of live in that and be making discoveries all the time. Like one of this George Walker sonata that I'm doing.
Yes.
I'm constantly it's constantly sort of revealing things to me that even the day before, the week before, the month before were, you just have to sort of keep peeling the onion. And if it's a really good piece, you just peel it forever. And it's like, you start to live in these pieces.
And you certainly embody that, Adam. And such dedication over the years, and that's why we keep enjoying this partnership. And I'm glad to hear we're the only ones who, at this point, have fully realized your abilities and
it's so true. It's really out of 50 states. I don't think I'm exaggerating. It's the only relationship out of 50 states that I've held up with the people who presented me. With those people.
Right.
So it's really remarkable.
Yeah.
It also just shows a real kind of constant vision, sort of a consistent vision of this is what we do, and so I just so appreciate it.
That's part of why we're here for 20 years.
We're going to wind this up with playing a little bit of the song.
From the Edward T. Cohn Preludes.
Oh, cool.
Number 11 from the 21 Preludes.
And thank you so much for calling.
Thank you.
Have a good trip out.
I can't wait. It's going to be so fun.
Okay,
aloha.
See you soon.
See you tomorrow.
That was quick. I like that quick
That's
thought.
one of 21 little preludes that Adam recorded for our second CD, The Music